Hello, welcome to another video. In this video, we are going to tackle partnerships. I have already created an account for partnership, and I just want us to go through the configuration process of partnerships. So, partnership will differ from sole proprietorship in that there are a few places that we need to configure. The first place is users because we will need our partner who is going to come and approve some of the documents for us. It will also require us to create or rather to configure the approval workflow and to configure suppliers. So we'll get right to it. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the user that is our partner who's going to assist us in the approval process. If you want this partner to also help with creating of POs instead of you yourself, the company owner, creating POs, you can grant them that permission inside of the permission section right here. So for the users, we're going to use the website temp mail to get a temporary email so that we can walk through how the email will look like once you send it to the user. So we can start. You can select whatever department you want, but you have to take note that the department and role that you select is also the department and role that you will select when you are creating approvers for approving the PR. So you have to take note of what role you give that user and what department that user is in, and then you're going to use that to configure your approval workflow. You'll be able to see how that works in a few minutes. Once you've created your user, you are going to receive an email. Rather, your user will receive an email. And before they set up their passwords, it's not going, the status will read pending setup. Then once they set up their password, it's going to become active. So we'll come here, refresh our inbox. Okay, we've set up our password. There's no need for us to sign in right now because we have nothing in our tasks for approving or creating the PR. I just wanted to show you that you need to set up your password, or rather, your user needs to set up their password in order for them to be able to access the system. So now, once we have set up our user, we're going to refresh the page and you will see that the status will change to active, as you can see there. Now that we have our partner, we can now go to the approval workflow and configure for them the workflow so that they can be able to approve the documents that they're going to receive. So we've already by default created two approval workflows for purchase order and for purchase requisition. For the purpose of this video, we are going to create the purchase order approval, or rather go through it so that you can understand it a bit more. And as you can note, in sole proprietorship, everything was created for us. We had four different workflows. We had for PO, PRs, invoices, and for payment. Here we only have two because we can decide that we either want to create an approval workflow for partners or a normal approval workflow, the kind of workflow you would use if your business type was company. So let's click on purchase order approval. Inside the purchase order approval page, you will see that we have another different workspace area. This workspace for partnership workspace is not inside our company business type and sole proprietorship. You can only find it inside the partnership because you might decide that you want to create approval workflows specifically for your partners. So here we have partnership workspace. We can edit the rules. So you can see we have two options. Either you use the normal approval workflow. This is when your partners do not need a special rule. And then we have partner approval. In partner approval, you choose the partner who's going to approve. You might have five partners, but only one other partner wants to approve. Not all your partners want to be included in the approval workflow. Or you might have all five of your partners wanting to approve and wanting to be part of the whole process. If that's the case, you can use the normal approval workflow, which allows you to configure very many different people. For our example, we're going to use the require partner approval. So remember, our user's role was approver. So we're going to say to state them as approver. We only have one partner, so that's enough. If you have a set number of partners that you want to approve, you can choose a set number and then choose the number, maybe three or two. But in our case, we only have one partner. Save those approval rules. Once you save them, you can decide to edit the approval workflow. Remember, this one has already been created for us by default. It's the purchase order workflow. You can change it. But in our case, everything is correct. You can see that the department is procurement and the assigned approver role is approver. And that's exactly what we chose when we were configuring our user. Our user belongs to the procurement department and their role is approver. So this is perfectly fine. Once you've created that, you can go back. For the purpose of making you understand how this works, we can create one approval workflow that is not default. We don't have an invoice approval workflow, for example. So we can create that. The entity type is invoice. So create that. Once it's been created, you will click view details right here. And then now you configure the invoice approval workflow as well. Since we have only one partner, we will still use that single partner. First, let's edit the rules because it's telling us that the current rule is normal approval workflow, but we want to use the partnership approval workflow. Click require partner approval. Our approver's role, the role of our partner is an approver. It's only one partner. That's okay. So save the partner. After you've created that, you'll now come to the workflow level. You choose the first workflow level. They go in order. There's level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But that depends on the specific workflow that you're working on. So invoices can have 3 levels of approvers. That depends on how your business is working. If you want to have 3 different users who are going to approve for you the invoices, you can select that, and the order will follow that precise rule. So you will choose level order 1, maybe for your procurement user, level number 2, maybe for your finance user, level number 3, maybe for the management. And the level orders also coincide with the amount of money that the users are going to approve. So you can have level 1 approving up to 50,000, level 2 approving up to 100,000, level 3 starting from 100,001 going to millions. It just depends on your company. So for this situation, we only have one partner. So we are going to give them level 1 and we can give this level a name. We can call it, since we are working on an invoice, we can give it the invoice name. We can call it invoice review. The department, our partner belongs to the procurement department. Remember, or rather recall, when we were creating the user is from the procurement department. We can choose to leave the amounts blank because it's only one other approver or one other user that is within the system. So maybe you want that one other user to be the one that approves everything for auditing purposes. So we click create level. Once you've done that, you'll now go to this section called workflow levels, and you're going to assign the role that you created for that user. For our user, the role that they had was approver role. When we created them, we gave them an approver role. So that is what you're going to select here. You're going to say that user or my partner belongs to the procurement department and they have the role of an approver. You assign that role, and just like that, you have created your own workflow, our approval workflow. So your user will be able to come in and approve for you the invoices that you create, the PR that you create, the PO that you create, and the payments that you will create. Once that is done, we will go next to suppliers. This is another section that you need to configure if you're working as a partner, because you require suppliers whenever you are creating a PO. What you're going to do here is just choose an Excel file. I had already created my Excel file. I've selected it and I'm going to click import suppliers, and it's going to import for me the suppliers that I will use when I am creating the POs. And that's basically it for partnership. So you can see for partnership, it requires a little bit more configuration than the sole proprietorship. And now when we go to configure companies, you will realize that companies also require a lot more configuration, because for a company, you can select different people from different departments to approve for you, to create for you the purchase requisition. It has a lot of moving parts. So that's it for our partnership. The next video will be about configuring for the company business type, and then we are going to create some PRs and POs and look at how the process works for the different business types. Thank you for coming this far. See you in the next video.